Welcome back to Poppies Part 2. So this is what we practiced drawing. I made this one a little bit on an angle more than I did on our original one that we did. I made them a little smaller. But if you recall, I'm going to walk through the steps one more time. We made our oval. You can see that there. And at this point, we're going to erase that oval. We don't need that. Okay. And then we made our cup. That one came down. We made our four lines. Okay. And then we made from that mark up top, we came around lower, higher, there, and in the back with our little piece in the front, our stem, and this is our other one on a little angle. We don't have any leaves, so let's put some leaves in. And I do my leaves, they're kind of a jaggy. I'm going to put a line down the middle, and again, I'm just going to have my hands be kind of jaggy and make them, there's one, and we could put one on here. He can have one as well. Bring it down. They're really just a very, go ahead and get a reference photo, and there's the second one. All right. So now what are we going to do? I would like to do this one with pen and ink. I am going to take my number 5 and I'm going to redraw. Okay? I don't have to do my oval. So I'm going to come here and I am just going to lightly sketch this kind of, because he's meant to be wiggly. I might not put all the lines in. Come around, okay? And basically do the same way you did before, but don't maybe fill all the lines in, okay? We're gonna do some other work there eventually. That one, and then here and you'll see what I mean in just a second when I take this apart, when I erase it. Perfect. I think that's all we're going to draw for right now on him. I'll erase that in a second. I'm going to kind of swiggle my pen down because he does have a very furry, fuzzy stem. Okay. I'm going to do the same on this one. Might just draw one side to start, and I might make him even a little bit fatter. Don't know. Don't bring it all the way to the front this time, and then get that little swerve line, and then another one where we're going to put the blossom. Now you can come back and do this line, keeping him somewhat. Okay, I'm going to do my leaf here. Just going to come down and meet my stem. And he's basically just going to be a very shaky hand. I always have more trouble on the left side. I don't know about how you guys will do, but that's fine. All right. This one, again, remaking our cup. I wanted a little more V than that one, okay? And squiggly around the top. Let's make this side come out a little bit. And this one, we might bring it more that way. And back. One here and one there. Bring our stem. I moved him over just a little, but that's okay because we're going to erase these lines. And again, let's make his staticky. Yeah, we're going to keep his angle here, and you can see I'm not following exactly. I'm just trying to give him I try to get a little fatter towards the bottom. All right, so he's all drawn. I'm gonna take and erase everything. And you're gonna see that at this point, it's not super dark, and that's okay, because we can always come back when we do our details later. All right, there. Good deal. Let's talk paint. I am going to use in my watercolors, I'm going to use my Mingling. I didn't have that in front of me. I think I'm going to use the vermilion, an oranger red. Okay, you could make it with some orange and some red as well. And I will be right back. Sorry about that, I forgot water. It is essential. So, okay, so back to the paint colors. We're gonna try the vermilion, and I think I'm just going to take probably my hooker green with, here, let's just mix it up for us. This is my hooker green. I'm just gonna put some clean water in there. And I'm going to put it in this spot, a little more water. Now I don't mind this green, we're just gonna go with it instead of mixing anything else up today for this one, okay? I'll clean out my brush, and this is my orange red. I like that. Might be a little oranger than I want, but we're gonna go with that one as well today, okay? So I got those two colors on my palette there, you can see them. Put that up here. And got my brush cleaned out. This brush is a number 2, and it's by Nick Pro, and it's really the same pretty much as my Master Touch, and I'm going to switch to my Master Touch just because I like my Master Touch better. And we're going to take this, we're going to do it wet on wet, sorry. We're going to take that clean water, and we're just going to do the first petal. I see we didn't get a good line on somewhere, but I'll do that in a minute too. So that's wet. We need to remember that this has to come around here. Okay, that's wet, and I would say that we want our darkest color down here. So let's just let that, rinsed my brush out. Too much water, don't do that. Sorry. Rinse my brush out, but then make sure you dry it. I want this wet, but I don't want it so it's seeping wet. And I'm just gonna slowly work it up. Okay. This is gonna be a very loose with pen and ink look. All right. Let's do, because it's not touching, we're gonna do up here. I'm gonna first try something different. We're gonna put the paint on first, clean my brush out. Now I'm going to activate it with the water and let the water do its thing. Make sure you go up into that paint because you don't want that paint line. A little bit more water maybe. Probably need a little more paint so that it can kind of, and you don't have to go right to the line. You don't have to be exact. I'm gonna get a little more water on my brush here because I want it to slowly go down in here. Now, for fun, you can add more, you can add less. We're gonna add a little bit more and let it work a little bit more here. Depending on how the grade of your paper, how it goes down. I might, because it's all gonna be filled in later, but I might like it just a little bit darker here. Just because that's gonna be the inside. All right, I like that. All right, clean my brush off. Let's do this one. I'm gonna try not to touch my other petal, but because we're wet on wet, it's okay if we do because it's a loose flower. And again, I'm going to start up here. I like it better when I make it wet and then come back, just so you know. It spreads nicer. It goes down. And I want it to be a little darker down here in the crease. Okay. And I'm happy with this not going all the way. That's a little more water than you need. But if you feel like it's not moving, just help it go down a little bit if you don't want so much white. I'm going to let this dry a little bit more before I come back here. All right, we're going to make this wet. And do the same. And because the object is to get this to look like it's coming down in here, again, I would like this a little darker than right up top there. Okay. And last but not least, oh, water. I did have that on there, right? Our little one down here. And I might make that one all a little darker because that one's probably, it can be either turned in or turned out, whatever you want. Oh no, we've got to do this one. This one I might just do totally by hand. And I might come back and put a second coat right away in there because I kind of want that piece darker. All right. Now, we're going to let that sit. And we're going to come over to this one with our clean water again. We'll start on this one. And I'm going to go down to the bottom on this one too. I want it to go both ways. Okay. I'm going to avoid the back one yet because I don't want it to bleed in. So, oops, so sorry. I'm not thinking. I want water first. And I want my inside darker on this one. It's going to look like it's falling. So I kind of want that. Oh, I forgot my little extra. I was going to show you here. I'm going to just come back. You shouldn't do this when it's wet, so just so you know. I'm going to add that. And I'll show you what we'll do with that in a minute. You can see I kind of got my color into the other one. That's okay. Again, this is loose. And some water. We'll do this side. Because it's all dark down there, it's okay if they bleed into each other. I would like a little bit of dark on this edge. Okay, because I want it to have a little contrast of the two places that they go. All right, water. I'm going to make this damp. I'm going to want that darker later, but let's get the first coat on it. There. Water. Try not to get all the way over to the other one for right now. And I would say he should be a little darker down in here. You can kind of get them to variegate a little. Clean your water. All right, so now, oops, I got more than I need. On this one, I don't know where you're looking at it, but I'm thinking it's starting to come up. So I'm going to start my paint here. And just kind of work it up that way. You're gonna have to touch, I cleaned my brush off there just so you know. You'll have to get a little bit on the edge so you get some color, but there. Okay, we're gonna do some pen and ink, some ink next, but let's let these set, okay? And let's come to our green. And sorry about that, I'm gonna drop to a smaller brush because of the size. And I made this thing wet, and we're gonna Just go down here as much as your little brush will hold the water, and we're going to let it feed. Hopefully it will feed down for you. And it's okay if it feeds up into the flower a little bit. That just gives that fun look. All right, do the same thing. I got my brush cleaned off. I'm going to come and do this one. See, I got a dot of water there. Oh, Pam, don't do that. Keep your rag clean. Sorry. And I'm going to just feed that green in there. We'll probably come back with green again. But for right now, we're going to stick that way. All right, my brush. Let's switch back to my little bigger brush. I'm going to do the one side and the other, and I'm going to avoid the middle, okay? And put my most concentrate up top. Kind of work around. Make sure I'm not off the page here. Maybe a little darker here. And trying to get them maybe even a little darker up here. And while you're at it, you can come back with your green now, and let's just tap every so often with that same color, just straight out of the palette this time, so that you get a little bit darker on your stem to give it the variation. Okay. You can do a little more up here if you want, a little more down here. I like that. I'm gonna, because I forgot, I'm not gonna leave that be, but I want it to really, I kind of want it to bleed in. So I'm gonna do it right out of the palette. I'm gonna pick some of it up, but I want it just to kind of fill in that crack like he's starting to pop open, okay? Now I'm going to come back to my green and do this side. Sorry if you, making sure I don't go off the paper here. Again, we're going to let it just feed in there. Okay. Pick up your bigger brush. We're going to do our leaves. We're going to make them wet. Try to get to your points if you can with your water. I want them wet, but I don't want puddles. And we'll start at the bottom, and hopefully it will start to feed in. We might go into the points where it's wet. And again, because this is a loose painting, it's okay if the color goes beyond your ink. The ink is just there. Gives a nice, fun description of your watercolor. I picked up a little more paint, trying to get it a little darker. Might go right up the middle. Maybe I want a little more at the top. And I'm happy with that. Okay, let's rinse out your brush. And, oops, rinse out your brush, put on the water. Pick up your green. Might have got a little better water on this one, I don't know. Seems to be moving a little better. Might come back and add a little more dark because this is starting to dry. To get a little more variance on the one. When they start to dry, you can just add more color. We didn't do that much on the flower, but that's okay. Good deal. For the center, I'm going to take black. You could do black. Actually, I'm going to do Payne's Gray. I like the Payne's Gray, and I'm gonna kind of watered it down and just did the center there. Okay, we'll come back with lines for that. There is the poppy in wet on wet. I'm going to leave my paint sit here. I may come back with some other spots, but I'm hoping it's dry. It is. I'm going to come back to my pen now. We'll start with this one because it's in the reach of my hand. Remember how I talked about making those little, we're going to do that now. We're going to make those little creases with our pen. That's what the ink wash does. On here, just kind of scuff it up because that's where we want the look. We're gonna I'm kind of scuffing along the side. You could take a finer one if you like. I usually do most of mine right with my 5 because it's easier, but you can darken it where you'd like. You can come along here and darken it. But you can see how I'm getting the direction of the lines. It's the way the petal will go. Back here, we're not going to do them real big, but we want them maybe a few extra. If you feel like you didn't get your marks where you wanted to on the side, you can always add another one. Like here, if you felt it was too sharp, because I don't think they really use that as your shader. Bring it down a little. Over here, I think I'm gonna make this one kind of look like it's coming more this way. So I'm gonna, remember your petals are doing whatever you want them to do. So I'm trying to make it look like he's scooped up a little bit here. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna add a little more lines down here. Maybe even all along the side. Okay, I'm gonna do the same on this side. I'm gonna scuff in there where it's darker. I'm gonna make it so it looks like his petals are coming down. I'm gonna give him some lines this way. And then here, I'm going to go the opposite kind of. I'm gonna get my little creases in there. And so it looks like that petal is coming up, okay? This is the tedious part, no doubt about it. And if I could speed my thing up, I would. You see, I kind of brought this one up. I might just put another line here to make that look like that's flipped up. And then I'm going to make my little creases like so. Might have to come a little color in there yet. That's kind of a minimal on that one. On the leaf, you can bring your veins, if you'd like, up to the points. Just kind of scuff them a little. You aren't needed to be real drastic. Okay. I'm gonna go to the big one. Oh, here I'm gonna go to this one first. Here we're gonna darken around the, and don't be afraid to let your pen get outside because we want it to look like he's hairy, because he is hairy. Maybe not as much ink in the lighter spots, a little more in the darker spots. That's why we did the paint. Maybe just a little squiggle there. Okay, I'll come back for that one later. Let's start here. I want this to have that creasing a little bit because there's always so many creases in these. I want it to come around the way this petal is doing. I might darken this one because if you recall, this is the one that's behind. And I might just make him dark by putting lines in him. I'm gonna come up here. Turn my thing here because it'll be easier. And just give the lines coming up. Okay, that gives you the look that that petal is coming down at you. Okay, up here, I'm going to start working on his little tucks again. And I might only have those tucks at the top because it can look like that piece is a little bit over maybe because we made that darker. And I might scuff along here, kind of the way we drew it, so that it looks like he has got that little turn to him. Might go a little more up here. Sometimes I like it when the pen just gets really dark and does that for me. Sometimes you just let it do its thing as you go. This one we're gonna run it a little bit like so, and this one I want this to look like it's coming out, so I'm gonna, but here I want it up. I'm gonna darken it in here, and I'm gonna darken it in here. Okay, and then I'm gonna come and do our thing on this side. This one, I think I'm going to just make this a little darker here. I might come back and put some more paint in that spot. And I think I want him a little bit curving down that way with this one up. Okay. Here I'm going to make the lines on our black because that is the way that looks. Some lines on there. And then I'm going to just start making a whole bunch of these. We could do that with paint. You don't have to put dots on every one, but put lines in there, because if you really look at them, there are a lot of these. We might have to make this a little darker so it doesn't. Okay. We didn't finish that leaf, but that's okay. We'll come back on our own there. I am now going to put some more dark. I'm going to come where we did the dark, and I'm going to straight out of that paint, and then I'm gonna feather it in the direction that I want it to go. See here, we take this, that was straight out, and then I'm going to take water, clean the brush water, and try to bring it down a little bit more here. Okay, same here, a little darker, bringing it down. I do the whole top. Bring it down, soften it up. Every time you hear me click, it's because I'm kind of rinsing my brush out. I think I'm going to make this really dark. If that one's turned, probably would have been better that this had been darker, but we didn't do it, so I got that one dark. I want this one darker yet. I don't even have to thin it out. I want it nice and dark in there, so we got some contrast. I want more dark over here. make a little darker down here. Maybe a little bit more color up here. Not as dark as the one that's in the background, but we do need a little more color up top here. You see how we're still keeping it light in the middle where we let the water do its thing. This petal didn't get any lines, but I do want it darker here. And you shouldn't do this with your pen when it's wet because it will smear. But we can make that one darker there. We can even, to me, this needed a little more distinction there. Maybe darken our petal a little bit more there. Okay, it's looking pretty good. We'll come over here and make this one darker down here. Maybe even bring them up a little more. I made my brush wet. We're gonna add a little more color up here. We're gonna add a lot of color back here. That back petal. Add a lot more color down in here. I want a contrast when we do it. And down here. Maybe a little bit more color up there. I'm pretty happy with that. I probably could play all day. Besides some more on the leaves, maybe. A little more color. Get some veins on this one. This little guy needed some veins. I'm actually going to go back in with my green again. Straight out of there. I want it even darker along the one side. Probably should be darker underneath on here, because that's where the shadow would be more. Pick a side that you're going to pick and do it the same on both flowers. Okay. You can come in and do a little darker on the leaves if you want. You can keep it as rough, or you can come back with your water and let it do its thing again. It will spread some more. Just think the leaves needed a little more color. I'm just basically putting water and paint, water and paint, water and paint, to get that little darker shade on the one side, kind of. And there's your poppy in a line and ink. I hope you enjoyed it.